So, how to increase your conversion and effectiveness on social media? That is a question I probably get almost every day. And on any class that I teach, there's a lot of misconceptions out there, or perhaps misbeliefs of people thinking that their content isn't working. So, we're going to talk about the difference between marketing and sales. So if you did see my social media post on this, then you're going to want to check it out. Also, make sure that you're following me. But it was titled 10 Silent Forces Driving Social Media Success That You Can't Measure But Can't Ignore. So I basically broke down the 10 immeasurables of social media that I believe every business owner who's creating content should know, because oftentimes we're looking at the wrong scoreboard when we're assessing if our content is actually working. Now, that doesn't mean that it can't be improved. And typically what I have found is it's not necessarily the content that needs improving. There's people who are making great content and spending a lot of time, energy, effort, especially on their reels, which we know that the video content is number one, guys. If you are wanting to grow on social media, you have to commit to doing video. And so how do we make sure that our time spent is generating the revenue or results that feeds the bottom line of the business? And this is typically having a content funnel. So let's break down kind of the intention and purpose of social media marketing. So I'm not talking about all of marketing, but specifically for social media and really specifically for Instagram. That is where people go to gain the whole know, like, and trust factor, especially Instagram. If people aren't already following you, then ultimately the first goal is to get attention. So you have to create content, whether that's making a single image post or posting to your story or leaving a comment in your notes, but you have to take action that then creates the attention. But where most fall flat is you may be getting attention, but you lack the sales funnel or the process to then convert that attention. So that's the second stage, is you have to get attention, then you have to convert the attention, and then you close the attention or the sale, essentially. So think, what is your process? What is your sales funnel, so to speak, where you're meeting people where they're at? Because also understand that every buyer's journey, they come in stages. So there's some people who are completely unaware of you, but they also don't have a need for the services that we provide. So those are not the type of people that we want to convert attention into, say, a lead. And to me, a lead, once you go into that second stage, that is someone who maybe downloads a lead magnet, like a home buyer's guide, or puts in their information for a home value assessment, or it's someone that actually calls you or schedules. Maybe you have a link tree in your bio and they can schedule a 15-minute introductory call. That to me is then a conversion of the attention. Now, that doesn't mean that you've closed the attention, but I don't want to generate low value leads. Like, we want to create content in front of the right people, which means it's the people who are aware that they have the problem. And because of your content marketing, they are now aware that you are the person or could be the person to solve their challenge. So what they need to do is then schedule time with you where you can present options and help them clarify what would be their best decision moving forward, so then you can close them. So do you have lead magnets for people to take the micro steps in the journey? Because again, going back to meeting people where they're at, they may just be in the research zone. Some people, it takes 2 years before they're fully ready, or that they believe that they're ready to actually buy a home. And so a lot of times what I see is in the bios is maybe a website, like your website, and it's taking them to your application link. And there's no micro step. That is a huge ask. And so how can we create micro steps to bridge the gap and meet people where they're at based off their buyer journey, which means knowing the type of content that's going out. So making a reel post that's just educational and it's informing people of maybe what to expect for the 2025 housing market. That's more educationally driven. But if you're making a post, say a story post, where you're asking them to maybe drop their email address to get a free home evaluation, then that's meeting people closer to that buyer journey. And again, it depends on how you structure that. And maybe it's a headline that's love your rate but hate your home, drop your email for a free home evaluation report and let's run the numbers. So like they're giving you their information. That's now converting the attention that you just created, but that would have never happened if you didn't show up and create content, or if we were creating the content for you. So let's talk about, now that you understand the very basics of the content funnel and how it's more than like a social media strategy for your social media to work. It's more than just posting. It's especially more than just posting and ghosting, which is why we have the daily prospecting or sales activities that go with our social media. But there's 3 main stages of a sale. And if you're creating attention and you're converting the attention, then by all means, make sure you have the systems in the process to nurture the leads or the prospects, because we know it takes longer for most people to find a home that they want. And I was recently working with a client who's going really deep on segmenting their database to figure out where are the missed opportunities from this year. Like by not being organized with their database and being intentional with the touch points along the buyer journey, what is that costing you? And so you may blame the marketing, or some maybe have false expectations that your social media will replace your sales. It doesn't replace sales. It helps sales. To me, it's really step 1 of the sales process now, because the whole forward conversations that we used to have on phone calls, now people are assessing and they're judging you based on what they see as your social proof. But if step 1 of the process is lead generation, so of the sales stages, step 1 is lead gen, which includes generating opportunities and nurturing those opportunities until we can eventually get them into stage 2. Okay, stage 2 is where we've converted them to an appointment, or maybe they've filled out an application, and now there's 3 parts for stage 2, which I usually call stage 2 the opportunity. We're assessing if there's an opportunity. We're not assuming there is one, because I'm not emotionally attached to the outcome, which I know is really hard to do when you get paid a commission, especially when it's been a tough market or if it's been slower. But the more that you can make it not you versus them, but it's you and the client versus the problem, and you're just helping unpack the confusion in their head of like not knowing what to do by giving logical paths of A, B, C. And when you present, you're giving them the option based off all the information that you've provided to make the best decision for their family. Then to me, that phase, okay, so if you break down phase 2, you have the purpose of phase 2 is to qualify. That's usually what the loan application helps determine. Then present. So this is usually where people are setting up the buyer consultation. They're showing the TCA, showing cost over time, like here's your 3 different options, sometimes 4 options. And then the last part is close. Now, I think we could all agree that some of us could strengthen the close, meaning once you've presented the options and they've agreed to a certain mortgage strategy, it's then asking them for their commitment, which does take time and money from the mortgage professional to move that person's pre-approval or application to a full TBD approval, for those of you who do that. And by asking them for their commitment, that there shouldn't be any reason that you guys wouldn't be working together, that's part of the close. You're doing the tie down to get their commitment before you move forward going through the TBD approval. So stage 1 was lead gen. Stage 2 was the opportunity, which is broken down into the 3 subcompartments: qualify, present options, close. And then the very last stage is the nurture and retention. So how are we optimizing referrals and marketing opportunities from our clients that have chosen us to do business with, where we've created a world-class customer experience where they understand the expectation, because your business is built off referrals, that they are to look for ways to send you at least 1 client just like them every year, because you're their lender for life and you've already scheduled your annual mortgage reviews. That's on the calendar as a repeat appointment, where every year, hopefully they have a list of people that you can contact who would be interested in your services, because you have just earned it. You've wowed them and you've asked them specifically, what does that 5-star experience look and feel like to them? And then you over delivered on it. So that's the retention side, where we're always looking to either upsell, resell, which is always easier. If you were to think of a cookie shop, and let's say you have a lot of different variety of cookies that you could sell. You have the M&Ms, you have the snickerdoodles, you have sugar cookies, chocolate chip, oatmeal, you name it. We know that margins are tight and the customer acquisition costs have only increased. Like for anyone who's running Google ads, YouTube ads, Meta ads, that's only gotten more expensive. So if you know that, let's say the sugar cookies are the most profitable cookie to sell in your cookie store, you would likely want to sell as many of those as you could. Doesn't mean you don't sell the others, but perhaps you focus on the sugar cookie because it has the highest profit. To me, there's lots of ways to generate leads, but the most profitable is going to come from usually the person right in front of you that you're serving today. The problem is, especially for those who are doing a lot more of the heavy lifting of the marketing themselves, and maybe this is a time where you really consider upgrading your package, because whatever time you're spending, or even whoever you're paying to maybe help with some of that scheduling of the content, if you reinvested that time and serve the client right in front of you with a little bit more intention, because now you've freed up some of your time that you were able to gain a referral from them or created little non-paid sales professionals for you by having raving fans, that now not only is your social creating the attention and awareness, but it's also serving the social proof because of all the word of mouth referrals that you're receiving. And that is the warmest referral with the highest conversion, so most profitable. Doesn't mean you can't use social media to go consumer direct and generate leads that way. It's just a little bit more costly. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do either one. There should be a diversity of leads that come in, but we still have to follow, for any type of lead generation that you're doing, a funnel, some kind of process that is systematized and predictable, where you're not leaving money on the table. And so I'll end it with this, because I taught a great class today for a room of top producing real estate agents, which I'm always amazed how many of them aren't on Instagram. Like a lot of them tend to be heavier on Facebook when it comes to creating their content. They do consume, they're consumers on Instagram. However, they need help with their social media. And so all these little tips that you guys learn for myself, like these are videos that you could send out or recreate yourself, or have these conversations with your partners, because imagine if you just increased their conversion a little bit and you help them understand the sales psychology behind their content marketing in the funnel, where I'd say probably 8 out of 10 agent profiles that I see, they don't even have a link in their bio. So that's a huge step that's missing. Like, how are people supposed to take the next step if they're interested in the services that they provide? There's not like an easy way to do that. There's not like a free guide to download, which is why I'm a big fan of the lead magnets. There should always be something that's free for them to download, or a course for them to sign up for, a free webinar. That's part of that perfect month, that when you look at the content calendar that we create, there's always an educational event for clients. And then there's also a fun one, but that's part of that repeatable process to continue to nurture not just your current clients, but your future clients. So I want y'all to think about that from now until next week, because we're going to dive a little bit deeper on creating the strategy for next year. And if you're starting to wonder if your content is working or if it could be working better, then we may need to schedule a strategy call. And you can do that via the link in any of my emails or directly on the website. But we need to break down, what's your process for when you get a new follower? What's your process for when you get a DM? Do you have a lead magnet in your link tree or in your link in bio? Where are the micro steps to meet people for if they're interested in solving their problem right now, or if they know that they have a challenge, but they aren't quite sure if you're the one that's the provider that would be best for them? We've got to get more strategic and intentional so that we can really take advantage of 2025, which I think is going to be a great year. I think 2026 will be even better, but there's things that we need to be doing now to build the habits and to build the plan, so that when we execute the plan starting January 1st, you're ready to go. So if you guys have questions, you know what to do. You can either schedule a strategy call or just respond to this email. If you feel like someone that you could benefit from this video, please make sure to share it with them. If you aren't already subscribed to the channel, or if you haven't liked this video, then I would just ask that you consider liking it and drop a comment of what was your one big takeaway from today's little mini lesson. All right, you guys have a great weekend. Take care.